listening to Tehachapi with Key Budge, Corey Costelloe, Greg Garrett, and Ashley Whitmore.
It's Tehachapi time. Key Budge, Greg Garrett, Corey Costelloe joining us today, the president and CEO of the Kern Economic Development Corporation and the chairman. Was that correct? Did I already blow that?
No, the executive director.
Executive director, doggone it, I almost had it, of the Kern Economic Development Foundation.
Perfect.
Richard Chapman.
Great to be here. Thank you all.
You got the name right.
Yeah, right. Hey, we
Richard,
do our best.
Thanks for coming.
We
up.
do our best.
Someone called me Richard Chamberlain. They gave me a plaque, and it said Richard Chamberlain. I love the Thornbirds, but that's not my last name.
Well, Richard, it's nice to have you come up. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. You're getting pulled in different directions. You took the time to come up and join us, and you're a returning guest, so we appreciate that.
Great. I'm looking forward to being here tomorrow for the East Kern Economic Alliance, which the city is hosting.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about a lot of different things, and East Kern and the shining stars that we have here in the greater Tehachapi area and things a little bit to the east of us. But you've got a special program that kind of shifted and changed gears because of COVID. It's found its new home being televised and recorded and available via stream. And it's the 2024 Kern County Economic Summit.
Correct. And I believe it's the 25th year of the summit, and it's a partnership between Kern EDC, the Greater Bakersfield Chamber, and Cal State University Bakersfield. And we actually, you may have been there in 2020, the day that we shut down this because of COVID. Actually, that afternoon,
I remember,
and there was a lot of optimism about our economy. Actually, Hard Rock was there, talking lightning in a bottle. The lightning bottle is coming back this month. 200 of your favorite bands. I know about 4 of them. And then Hard Rock already had the groundbreaking. So we did take it virtual. The good thing with virtual, 10,000 eyeballs or 10,000 people, maybe that means 20,000 eyeballs, will be on the show, watching the show, and it will stream. So you don't have to physically be there.
And they can, anyone that's listening, you can go to, if you want to catch it live, it's going to be Saturday, May 11th from 6 to 7:30 on KGET Channel 17, or you can also stream it from their website, kget.com.
Correct.
Okay. So what are we going to see? What are some of the featured highlights for this year's event?
Right. So we've added a new feature actually last year where we have 2 industry panels discussion. So last year we had a healthcare discussion as well as a energy carbon capture. This year we're excited to have an aerospace defense panel, which will be China Lake, Mojave Air and Spaceport, and Edwards Air Force Base will be profiled. And then we have an agriculture related one, which will have the president of the Farm Bureau as well as the president of Wonderful Citrus. Those will be part of the program. And then we'll have 3 economists from California State University, Bakersfield speaking. You may know Dr. Macheka Nyakunde. He
Very
will
good, yeah.
present. Yeah, he always does a fabulous job, either person or via TV, talking about population migration during COVID. Kern County gained, obviously, from mainly the LA area, kind of leveling off. I was shocked to learn that Kern County actually lost population last year. Because all the data seemed to contradict that about folks from LA looking to move here.
Now, I wonder if that has to do with the prison population.
It certainly
because
does.
in the city of Tehachapi, CCI, California Correctional Institution, is actually in the city limits.
Yes.
And our population dropped, 1,200.
Yeah, we lost like 1,700 total since 2020, or since the first shutdown, which was 2022 of the yards. And actually, I was doing a little math adjustments, and they could be wrong because I'm half a moron in math sometimes. But I think
he's true.
Actually, adjusting for the inmate losses between 2022 and 2024, the current projection from the California Department of Finance, the city population actually saw about a 4% gain, so 2% a year, which is usually our average. So where they're averaging, if you take out that prison factor, and if you look at other cities like California City, they had their facility closed, lost a lot.
That's right.
Taft has been impacted by that as well. And then even some of the other cities, Wasco, that sort of thing, they've lost a few because they're still realigning inmates all over the state. So a lot of that is due to the prison part, especially in the small rural communities.
That's a great point. And then, in terms of pointing at that, because the consensus is we're growing. Your city's growing. You're building new homes. Same for Bakersfield and Ridgecrest and other communities. So we saw that we were one of the top counties in terms of out-of-towners looking via Zillow or Redfin to buy a home here.
And I saw a great map too that was an interactive map. You could kind of, I think the San Francisco Chronicle had it. You could scroll over the county, and what I saw was population losses in the coastal communities, and then the Central Valley, Kern, Tulare, Fresno County, all seeing 0.5% to a full % increase over the last year. So you're seeing, I think, a lot of that is housing costs on the coast. Retirees can no longer afford where they're at, and they're coming into the Central Valley in Kern County.
And also, it was interesting, the data of folks looking in Kern County to leave was literally like 1/100th of what looking to move in. So we are, you've seen that in the pressure of the homes, average sales price go up significantly. We've also, the Dr. Richard Gerhardt will be talking about the impact of the $20 minimum wage. Good. And, looking at some of the unintended consequences, right? Because you're going to see mostly a drive to automation.
That's right.
And then also, unfortunately, like the mom and pop restaurants are going to lose employees that will go to the fast food for a couple dollars extra an hour.
Yeah, we're on a journey, and I think I could predict where we're going to end up, but we'll see.
We can see it already. We've noticed a couple of times, being out to lunch, even in Tehachapi, people walking in and asking, "Hey, are you guys hiring?" Which hasn't happened for a long time. And usually they had help wanted signs. Now they're saying, "Oh, we're fully staffed." Well, what they end up doing is they cut positions, and you can see that in the service of food. It's slower. They're pushing more, especially the chains, more on their online ordering. And the automation piece is already, companies are playing with AI voice ordering at the drive-through as opposed to talking to a person, because they can free that person up to do something else. And then, go on down from robots making guacamole to French fries. It's all happening. And we're starting to see it though. There are fewer of those jobs are out there. And I think even this summer, you'll see it when the college kids come home. And sometimes that was a summer gig. They're having to look for other work because it's not there in the fast food industry right now.
Well, and apparently McDonald's is the best position to transition into the AI and that automation.
They already are. We actually saw our McDonald's not too long ago at a Coffee with a Cop event. They took us back there, and it's amazing the technology they use now. And I thought, wow, you don't need fast food workers. You need computer engineers back here, because everything was from you order on your phone, and they know when you order on your app, your phone's basically being tracked, and when we're within 3 miles of the restaurant, then it pops on their screen and they start making it. That's why it's ready when you get there and you're not waiting in the drive-thru, because they got an alert and your order automatically popped on the screen. They started making it, and they know how many Big Macs they sell in an average lunch period on a Tuesday, and they prepare that many patties. It's a rolling 2-week average, and so the data's got it dialed down, so there's not a lot of food waste. And it's amazing the technology back there behind the counter at McDonald's.
Well, what was it, over 4 billion served? Maybe that's gone up a little.
Yeah, a little bit. I think so. A little bit. Yeah. They stopped counting several years ago.
And the other thing, part of that is the price, the upward pressure on prices. The Big Macs that now you hear, the Happy Meal is what, $10, $12, $13, $14. The price pressures, or the consumer will pay, right?
Yeah.
For that increased minimum wage.
I saw an ad at ours the other day. It said 1 for 1. It was one for $1, and I'm like, these used to be 2 for $1, and now we're already getting a whole sandwich taken off.
You're dating yourself.
Oh
Corey.
my goodness! I'm like, wow,
Well, we have this we have this Kern County. I'm going to bring us back a little bit. Key, is that okay if I bring us back to the center?
This is real economy, Greg.
This matters, but
Let me just say, as a consumer, I was one that really pushed back on the beginning of automation. No checker at the register. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And now I've been socially engineered the other way, where I look for the AI technology, the app. I'm saying it out loud, but I was one of those that really pushed hard and resistant about it. But now time's a factor.
I get mad.
And I'm now the consumer.
I get mad when people are ordering from the Squawk Box at a drive-thru. I'm like, why are you people prepared? Right. I ordered ahead.
You know, Richard, I wonder if I could use AI to replace my assistant city manager and my communications director. You think it's possible?
Good luck.
Oh, no. I think because
Chat GBT says, no, you can't. There you go, Greg. There's your answer.
Save some tax dollars here.
We're about dot connector. Computers cannot connect the dots. The art of conversation. Although I know people that submit op-eds to the paper that use ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but you can tell, right? The language of ChatGPT is not as organic,
right?
As like the conversation we're having.
The college professors get it. They know exactly. They're like, oh no, they send it right back.
I've listened to you talk, son. Mm-hmm. You're not writing that. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Greg, recenter us.
Okay.
Thank you, Key. So Kern County Economic Summit coming up here soon, but East Kern, Tehachapi, and to the east of us, we play a big part in the economic portfolio of Kern County and the entire state and nation, quite frankly, with ag, oil, aerospace, mining, all those sorts of things. But let's talk about East Kern. So this year you have ag, and we have ag in Tehachapi. We have a lot of ag in Tehachapi. We have a lot of ag to the east of us. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the aerospace and defense with what you mentioned before with the military bases and the Mojave Spaceport. But let's talk a little more about how that is positively impacting our region.
Well, and I think we've seen even our EDC, the project caseload was maybe in the past 5%, 10%. East Kern now it's pushing like 30%.
Wow.
And many of the think about it, we're in a different air district. It's easier.
When you say we, you say Tehachapi.
Yeah.
You are down in Bakersfield, and you are in a different.
I'm physically in
more
a different
constrained, and so Tehachapi and East is in the East Kern Air Pollution Control Districts, and so we have blue skies.
Yep.
And we have cleaner air, and so thank God we're in a different district.
It blows from here to San Bernardino, so that's their problem at this point. Like,
so somebody in Tucson has, whatever.
Yeah,
but it's a good thing.
And you can see we've shown that the labor. You've all done a great job with your Placer AI and other tools showing the labor shed is available, and the workers can access. Be it Rio Tinto or the bases, they have the circulation is 20 miles is 20 minutes, right? So you're drawing from Lancaster, Palmdale, and throughout the region. So employers are seeing that the quality workforce is in East Kern because that's so important. Power is a big issue, but we can talk about that another day.
Yeah, getting electricity to where it needs to be. Yeah. Well, we generate a lot, but getting it back to where the factory or the shop, those sorts of things.
And some of the projects that are being discussed in East Kern, one being approved, another out there, and then of course there's a lot of solar projects that are happening. But grid capacity and storage, I know in the summertime, sometimes basically SCE has to stop taking power off solar facilities because they don't have the capacity to store it, and the grid's maxed out.
The duck curve.
Yeah, exactly. But there are some projects out there. Some of the Pacific Steel groups of the world, they've got solar. They're planning as part of there to help power their facility. HydroStore, which was initially going to be kind of more off of Willow Springs Road near Roseman's, now wants to locate next to that project, and they're one of those projects going to take that excess power, put in the ground, store it, and then bring it back out a little bit later. That's the non-scientific way of doing it, but of explaining it. But I think that project will have the opportunity to potentially grow into more projects because there's a lot of production in East Kern for electricity via solar, wind, but we've got to have a place to put it.
Most of our green electrons go to the coast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have 60% of the state's renewable energy in Kern County, about $80 billion of investment.
That's right.
But through the PPAs, most of the green electrons are flowing to these coastal cities.
The grid is a pretty complicated process, if you will, but we generate a lot of power in this area. So it's time to start using that power.
Yeah,
that's
locally,
and that's a perfect canvas. East Kern's the perfect canvas to not necessarily experiment because they do a lot of science before they even put a shovel in the ground, but to see how those projects work, how a HydroStore, for example, can work. And if they work there, I know the geology is very important. I know there's found sites out there that are great for something like this. So I could certainly see more of those, 10, 15 years years down the road, even 20, as that starts to work, and that'll help solve some of the capacity issues in storing that stuff until the evening hours when they really need it.
Yeah, and it'll be 500 megawatt, 8 hours of storage. I mean, that's the key. And the great thing about battery storage too is it's not exempt from property tax. And I think we had that discussion many years ago about solar is exempt due to state policies from reassessment.
Yeah.
But now I know there's a local assessment fee. We know that oil and gas pays up to $200 million a year. So the great thing is with the new types of energy storage projects, they're going to pay some cases 100 and 150 million over the lifetime of that project for local streets, roads, and education and so forth.
And that's one of the super important industries. And then we did touch on defense earlier, but I know we've had Edwards Air Force Base come a couple times the last few Greater Tehachapi Economic Development Council meetings, and they basically said, hey, we've got 2,000 job openings. And this is from everything from, being electricians to building maintenance, because they're doing a ton of stuff out there and they need computer engineers, electricians, plumbers, maintenance workers, all that stuff. They're creating many more jobs. And I mean, just the other day they were testing an AI pilot in a jet, and they had a pilot in there just to make sure nothing went wrong, but they didn't have any issues, and they had an automated pilot fly through some simulations.
I took a Waymo car in Scottsdale.
Did you?
When I went in January at the IEDC conference, they were only allowed to go 35 miles an hour. Now they are allowed on the freeways up to 65. It was I think the best experience I've had. It was actually relaxing. And you didn't have to, if you don't feel like talking, you can, just sit back and relax, and no tipping.
I can't believe that you didn't feel like talking.
Well,
So I don't know where that just came from.
Maybe that's why it was so peaceful.
It's probably just you, and you're going to talk to yourself.
I did talk to myself.
I know. We took the Tesla tube once in Vegas, which is really cool.
Okay.
But there's a driver, of course.
Yeah.
But that was fun, and I felt like it was efficient too. The way that it was set up, and
and you watch. Eventually, that'll probably be automated too. They'll find a way to make that automated.
But they're automating cars in San Francisco. We're automating fighter jets in East Kern.
Exactly.
Right. They'll go 35 miles an hour. We'll go Mach 2.
Right. And blow something up. Just in case.
And protect the nation and the world.
Well, and that's
so we got a leg up on them.
That's the thing we don't. When I moved here 17 years ago, we did not have a business journal for this region. And at the time I said, wow, Kern County is the fastest growing metro GDP-wise in the country. And somebody said, well, who told you that? I said, well, I looked at the Bureau of Economic Analysis. That's why we put out these fact sheets, our market overview. We need to start bragging. If you talked about the work for job openings. Well, if we don't start promoting, continue to beat the drums, then how do we attract talent?
Yeah.
And you need to be proud of your community wherever you live, because if you're not proud and you don't say, Tehachapi's a great place, or, Arvin's a great place, whatever, then whoever you're talking to, they listen to that.
Yep.
And they won't go and invest or move or, be part of that success story. Kern County is the third most diverse economy in the nation.
For STEM jobs,
for goodness sakes, that's quite amazing.
There's a reason.
It's a blessing.
There's a reason to root for those industries, even though you may not be in them, right? You may say, I'm not in defense, I'm not in mining, I'm not in renewable energy, but each one of those jobs has such a big multiplier effect. Each manufacturing or actually mining job and manufacturing is right around 3.5 to 4 jobs created for one job that they bring. So, and that means for every one job, someone's going to work in a restaurant, someone's going to be in a retail job, someone's going to have a real estate job or a contractor business. They multiply, and it's almost 4 to 1 in those cases. So as those industries become successful in East Kern, the impact here in Tehachapi on the job market for every other industry is impacted because there's a need for more. So that's why rooting for those industries is so important, because they lead the way in job multipliers.
And you don't want to grow just to grow. You don't want explosive growth. We've seen a lot of explosive growth in the Inland Empire. Houses forever.
Yeah.
That's not who we are. We want to support the industries that make a difference.
And I saw a study last week showed that Inland Empire is the toughest place in the market in the country to make a living. because you had that during COVID, significant, out migration to that region, and the housing prices are through the roof, and they're becoming anti-business. So remember the warehouses, and now you have NIMBYs that are fighting at a certain point, that doom cycle, right? Where like in San Francisco and other communities where they don't want growth. Yeah. They don't embrace good jobs, even good jobs.
Right. Yeah. I think there was I accidentally, not just because I was curious, and I think I accidentally offended him, but you go down 215 Moreno Valley, it's millions and millions of square feet with more signs saying more millions of square feet coming soon, distribution centers. And I'm already watching semi-trucks stack up on the exit ramps onto 215. And I'm thinking, they haven't done anything to the freeways to make that capacity of all this shipping and receiving. And so I ran into one of the folks that was at this show I was at from the Moreno Valley. And I started asking, well, what about the freeways? And he said, well, what about it? That's Caltrans' problem. I'm like, well, hold on. You're adding like 4 million square feet. Did you not require some kind of buy-in to expand the roads regionally? No, it's not our issue. Like, that's Caltrans' problem. And I said, well, don't you think the truck, I got to go. I have another meeting. I was just trying to find out because, when you're planning appropriately, you should make sure the infrastructure is going to support, or that way the business becomes useful. And then you get the neighbors complaining because I've got semi-trucks 17 deep on an off-ramp and I can't get to work.
Well, and that's why it's so important. You can't work with your blinders on. And Richard, you work really well with the city of Tehachapi and this community, all of Kern. This podcast is a great example, and the Economic Summit, yet another one. But working together, we can figure out what's best for this county and this region.
Well, and you guys have really set the bar high, right? Because you have that live, work, and play aesthetic, right? I mean, because versus you have some bedroom communities where, everyone leaves and then comes back. I mean, so how do you get that balance? I mean, you want that 1-to-1 housing to job ratio. And you mentioned, I know people in Riverside that work in LA and they have to wake up at 3:30 or 4 in the morning to get there at 7 or 8. Yeah. And it's out of quality of life. And especially young people, I grew up with 2-hour commutes, Seattle and DC and others, but nobody wants that of all ages right now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. It's a big topic. Economic development is a big topic. You need to grow, otherwise you will die on the vine. You can grow too fast, but you need to communicate and work together, and that's what this is all about.
You got to be diverse, and I think that's a key. I think being diverse, you're not hitching yourself to one industry. Many years ago, I think Tehachapi's had a good history of not having that happen. I think I even saw something, from in our archives from the Depression, where it was a newspaper article and it said, the city of Tehachapi did pretty well during the Depression because we were diverse. We had agriculture then, and there were some other industrial jobs, and we weren't relying on one industry where other towns suffered because one industry really dried up. And that's kind of the case now. I mean, there were times when we were really maybe part of like the prison and the corrections and part of renewables, but now that's part of a big portfolio, and that really helps that diversity grow, and then the job benefits for everybody grow because so many industries are impacted.
We were able to guide through the recession and then through COVID, and your neighbors. The city is strong, that's for sure, of Tehachapi, but some of our neighbors struggle, and it really breaks my heart, and I need them to be stable and get things going in the appropriate way. You have to have stability at all levels.
All ships float. Well, and we knew going into COVID, the data showed that we had more essential jobs in Kern County than any metro in the country.
And we rebounded quicker, I think, too, right? Yeah. We rebounded one of the top rebounding counties.
That's it. 67% of our jobs were considered essential. And think about the jobs we're talking about today. They're all essential. So we...
if you lose your job, I think it's essential, right?
You're essential,
right.
Yeah, if you're working, it's essential.
Well, think about the other thing on the workforce side. Unfortunately, we are we lead in terms of lack of labor participation. Only 58% of people in this county that can work are working.
What do you mean by that?
So 42% of working age adults are on the sidelines. Now, some may be child care, taking care of a child, but we're lower than the state average. So is that an opportunity? I would believe if you can upskill, but we have job openings at high levels, but also how do we get people back into the workplace? Maybe the $20 an hour.
Maybe that helps.
Well, I mean, part of what, with what you are involved with the Kern Economic Development Foundation recently had the STEM program, the STEM Summit, and it was phenomenal. But we're talking about some of those, creating those jobs and excitement and energy for, some young people.
Yeah, the younger. So you got 4th, 6th grade that we had. Thank you, City, for your sponsorship. We had 4,000 kids from around the county and 150 exhibitors talking about jobs in Kern County. I was at a conference and they were talking about generation. They said Generation Z, you don't motivate them by saying you need a career. You say, what lifestyle would you like?
Yeah.
Would you like a car? Would you like to live in a big house? And so you say, hey, well, if you would like, this is how much money you have to make, and these are the careers. And so you saw at that expo, these were STEM careers. Some just required a high school degree. You can make 6 figures. Some required, 2 to 4. But we need to show these students, the next generation, that they can stay in Kern County and have an amazing quality of life.
I find that fascinating that you learn to talk to this generation with what their goal is. Before, I looked at my retirement or something that motivated me. It's like, what is it that you want? What do you aspire to have in your lifestyle? And we're figuring out new ways to connect with this other generation. I never would have thought of that, but that's brilliant.
It's odd to me. I've just always worked.
Yeah, I know, right.
Honestly, I would mow lawns. I got up at 4 a.m. and threw papers, to all the neighborhoods, and then Carl's Jr., and just on and on. But I just worked.
Well, we were told, I was told, get an internship. That's the pathway.
Yeah.
And then
an unpaid internship back then.
Right, they're paid.
Yep.
Unpaid internship.
Now they ask you how much am I going to get paid?
Exactly.
Yeah. But I just spent 16 hours this weekend in the garden in my house. So but I can't imagine that idle time, right?
Yeah.
But
you can go to the grocery store and just buy that stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking about lifestyle stuff. I was running something the other day through Placer AI, which Richard talked about, and it was for a local business trying to help them identify who their customer base was to help their marketing efforts, and a couple different data sets we have access to actually categorize people, and I said, here are your most popular categories.
Like psychographics.
Here they are. And so one of them is, urban cliff climbers. These are high density neighborhoods, mostly filled with families, work hard for the well-earned living. Those neighborhoods are a strong representation of the working class. They have retired in the suburbs, which is one of their big customer bases. These represents the high end of success in all categories, including education, income level, and occupation. These neighborhoods are primarily 65 plus and aging. Married in the suburbs, these are 30-something suburbanites enjoying the fruits of the high quality suburban lifestyle. They earn good incomes and mostly consist of married couples with children. There's a few others, and then Experian Mosaic had a data set, talked about golden age guardians and blue sky boomers or middle class baby boomer age households living in small towns, and it really showed the diversity of, but a lot of it centered around was usually middle to upper class, jobs and earnings as part of their business sector. So it was really interesting to see how they broke down all these lifestyles, and then obviously they connected to income level and education.
Yeah, I saw a report last week that said the average Z generation considers someone in their 50s geriatric. So I guess that's me.
Most of us in the room here, I'm not sure.
And interestingly enough, I'm the stat guy, but I was looking at our state legislature. There was a report that came out that, I'll ask you all, what percentage of the state legislature are millennials?
Oh, man. Depends on the millennial.
Born after 81.
81. Now it got pushed to 81 because I thought it's 70.
Well, is this 80. A trick question or?
This is not like the question, what weighs more, a ton of bricks or a ton of feathers?
Okay.
I'm thinking
35%.
35?
I said 35. He said 10.
I said 10.
11.
Multiply your answer by 2.
It's 20%.
70.
20.
No, who said 35?
Oh, wow.
70% of the state legislature are millennials.
Really? Wow, that is shocking.
Now you look at the federal,
not
and
really.
The U.S. Senate, and that's not. They don't have many, but so think about, so what is the opportunity challenge to promote economic development? This is to the millennial audience, not the Gen Y audience.
Right.
So that was shocking.
I'm Gen X. Everybody leaves Gen X out.
Yeah, the forgotten.
Oh, right,
generation.
Gen X. Well, I was born in '67.
Yeah, I just forgotten.
Why did I call myself Gen Y? When is Gen Y?
That would be after X, right?
That'll be a question for the listeners. They can look it up themselves.
Yeah.
Right, but the leadership and throughout the state are millennials.
But they're full time. They get a great salary with benefits, and they just make laws every day. It used to be that these guys would go up there, a couple weeks, and
some states have, right?
Still
Part-time
do, right? And
legislatures,
I'm a big proponent of that.
Yeah, we used to get calls.
You don't need it's not a full time job, for God's sake.
We used to get calls from lawmakers and say, "Hey, we're getting ready to this legislative session.
Yeah.
Do you have anything we need to write?" And
Yeah,
they're like, "If you have to call
have any
us,
ideas?"
you
They're
have
like
nothing.
They're bored to death, and they're just looking for some stupid project.
Well, we have to fight. I'm really proud of our regional legislators, but if you look at the Cal Chambers job killer bill list, I'm trying to find job creator bill list, but I saw the job creator or job killer list, and it's pretty onerous on especially on some of our major industries, the impact it's going to have.
Yeah, it would just, we're going back to oil. I mean, just today there was some stories about folks are wondering, hey, the governor actually passed the law was signed about oil company profits, and we're paying over $5 a gallon again. When are we going to get some relief?
It was like a year ago.
It was
or 9, 10 months
exactly
ago.
the point. And so they said, well, the committee's met a bunch of times, and they're trying to figure it out. And if they penalize, then all the company's going to do is raise the prices to make up for the penalties. And then if they cut supply, the price goes up. And then one lawmaker said, we really need to focus on infrastructure to deliver more oil.
But see, that's the thing. We hit a record. We hit a record last year of imports. We imported 77% of our oil from overseas.
Yeah.
That used to be 5% in the 80s.
Yeah.
So a record, and demand has increased 3 years in a row. This is not, it's a demand issue. But we've shifted from local production to production from countries half a world away that have horrific environmental and human rights records.
I've heard you say that so many times, and it just doesn't resonate with Sacramento.
No.
Well,
I hear you, and I believe you, and I know it's true.
And I would love so I always say energy policy, we're the energy capital of California. Why aren't we at the head of the adults table in Sacramento? Yeah. Our industry, our public and private sector leaders saying, here's recommending, right? Industry should have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Crafting this legislation.
I think other states are starting to take the lead.
Yeah, we used to be number one oil producing county in the country 7 years ago. Yeah. We'll probably be, we're 14th or 15th now. Mm-hmm. And so that will probably hit 20. Mm-hmm. The good news is our oil production increased 1%, 22 versus 23. So we have that going for us.
Good. Well, Eastern Kern has a lot of opportunities. So, our doors are open, and we want to make sure that we can help facilitate anything that certainly makes sense for this local area.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we're seeing how do we get the innovation in East Kern, kind of that east and west, how do we build that tapestry and connectivity? It's so important. And East Kern, because of a lot of federal dollars, they're not as dependent on Sacramento. There's a lot of optimism out here. Mm-hmm. And so I still, there's no place I want to be than Kern County. So thanks for all you all do to help us.
It's important to communicate. When COVID started, I started a city manager Zoom call. Yeah. And so every Tuesday, all the city managers in Kern County get together and we compare notes. The good, the bad, the ugly, best practices, do this, don't do that. And we have really benefited from that weekly 1 hour call. Yeah. And so it's blossomed into meetings and different things that we're able to just really work together.
And your residents have benefited.
And casual dialogue too.
Right.
I mean, we might be looking into something. I mean, something as simple as, the other day when it came to buying a new street sweeper, we reached out to a couple other cities like, hey, who did you guys use? Who was we used this and this. It was pretty good. Or we used this. It wasn't very good.
It was worth the time. In street sweepers, have you looked at the price of street sweepers lately? Like $350,000.
Are they hybrid?
Well, yeah. Well, they're going to be all electric here. In a couple months, and they'll only be able to run
about 2 blocks at a time.
2 blocks. That's beside the point.
Can't you use a Zamboni or something?
Well, there's no ice, at least during the summer up here. But
we're gonna duct tape some push brooms to the front of a pickup truck and go from there. But
nevertheless, communication is the word of the day.
Yeah,
right, and that's it. That's what I really enjoy. We have you all have a robust understanding of economic development. and it's education, business, and government working together in tandem.
Yeah. And we talk about it too, about being a conduit. I mean, we're the conduit. We're putting the two sides together most of the time, whether it be a retail lease or a retail build or existing business and a vacancy, whatever it is, or a new industry, or even a project outside of the city, out in the desert, who comes to Tehachapi with their, multinational board and says, this is where we want to base our operations. We want to send our employees here to live. We want to send our construction employees here to stay, which has a benefit on the residents and, TOT taxes and that sort of thing, and eating at restaurants. And again, that job multiplier thing comes in. So we're just trying to connect a lot of the pieces and just create that playing field for everybody.
Well, investment goes where it's embraced, and you get 5-0 votes on the city council, 7. You get that. As I always say, my initials are Richard Duvall Chapman. So reliability, degree of certainty, and clarity. So you all give that in spades, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what
company investment,
and that helps when companies see stability. Yeah. They're like, oh, it's pretty stable there. We're safe with our investment here, as opposed to somewhere where it may become a bigger issue.
Yeah, or you have NIMBY. You've heard the term bananas, right? Mm-hmm. Build absolutely nothing anywhere near anybody. Yeah. And I mean, look, Pacific Steel, when it went through the county, it was I don't believe one person or group opposed it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that too. I mean, and then what came out of that story, I saw something the other day. It was, the Biden administration was considering raising the steel tariff on China because we're importing so much Chinese steel. But I found a funny caveat. What was happening is China then was circumventing the tariffs by shipping it to Mexico. And then Mexico was trucking it in. Well, guess what? When Mexico's trucking it in, where most likely it's coming? California, for California projects. So they're circumventing the process. Meanwhile, and this is just for steel rebar, we've got a company who wants to build steel rebar locally. That's going to shut down some of that illegal steel quality control issues quite a bit. And so I think
crazy. People are starting to wake up a little bit because there were no opposition to that project, correct?
Yeah.
So
Hard Rock
hooray,
too.
right?
Hard Rock.
I mean, so people are understanding. In Kern County, people get it.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing, because you wind is prohibited in LA County, and even the solar projects that go here versus LA County are a third of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, what place in California? I mean, what better place? And you can show them these projects aren't consent. Mm-hmm. The first steel production facility in 50 years in California.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. Well, myself, Corey, Key, Jay, others, the entire city, we take economic development very serious, and we throughout the day, whether it's a scheduled meeting or just a conversation, in the hallway, we talk about what's happening in the city, what's happening in the Tehachapi area, and what's happening in East Kern and Kern County and beyond. Yeah. And how can we help that process move along?
Yeah. And when you go from, I've said it before, we go from, in the same day I will speak to a mom and pop business owner about some relatively minor issue, but it has a major impact on their operations. And then the next conversation, you're on the phone either with a broker out of New York or, a multinational company who's bringing their board of directors in. And it's crazy, like the scale of one end of the spectrum to the other. And we touch it all. And
they all have to be. I saw Kern now is in number of self-employed is actually growing by leaps and bounds above other regions.
But, we have a master plan community, Sage Ranch. It's been in the news lately. Mm-hmm. But, there are going to be townhomes, condominiums, apartments, homes, pickleball courts, swimming pool,
senior housing options. Yeah.
All those sorts of things that just add to the quality of life, and they enhance people that want to work from home, or maybe you drive to Edwards Air Force Base and you're working on the new whatever something.
Yeah. Well, so you bring that up. When we went and we opened our pickleball courts, we all spoke with one of the surgeons at Adventist Health Tehachapi Valley, and he said he can't. He works here. He lives in Bakersfield, and he said, "I wish you guys would have built this a little sooner. I only bought my house in Bakersfield because you didn't have pickleball up here, and that's what I do when I'm not working. I play pick." He was that serious, and he goes, I love it here. I want to live here, but we bought in Bakersfield because you didn't have pickleball. Now my stuff's in my car. I'm going to play here on my way home. And
I just thought there were more pickleball related injuries, and it would be good for business.
That too, but he's a surgeon. He is a surgeon.
Well, he said he was going to. You'll see me in my scrubs. I'm going to come over as soon as I get off, and I'm going to be playing using your courts.
It was so crazy to hear that.
Yeah,
that's that quality of life piece.
He pulled us aside to tell us that,
and his wife and his baby there with him.
Why is it called pickleball?
There's two different thoughts on that. Something
That's a whole nother podcast.
It is. It is.
The history of
I had to
pickleball.
stop Keen there
Yeah,
because he's Mr. Pickleball.
Yeah.
Right? He's Mr. Pickleball. But the
I'm
city
his
of
protege
Tehachapi
right now. He's working on me.
You are.
Just remember, I didn't bring it up.
Was that planned?
Yeah.
But the city of Tehachapi takes our role very serious. We're here to support whether you have, you're working from home, you have one employee, or you're 1,500 employees at Northrop. We want to support your activities, and it's not all fun and games, right? It's not all about pickleball or, swimming pools and that kind of stuff. But the quality of life matters. And Richard, what you've been describing today is the generations that are coming up, that are the workforce. They're demanding a higher quality of life. They're not going to live the same lifestyle that their parents or grandparents lived. Right? They want something more.
Well, the employee is king now.
The employee is king. Oh, you said that in front of some employees.
Yes, you did.
Dang it.
I hate to hit
control
on
the
I had
mic
these
level
guys
here.
under my
I hate to hit
under
on
my
Z,
thumb there for a while.
but do you know that 92% of the Z generation have not shown up for an interview, and 84% have not shown up for their first day on the job?
We've had that happen with the interview thing. We'll have a panel and we'll say, how the interviews go? Well, 2 of the 4 didn't show. Didn't show. This didn't show up.
Ghosting. It's the ghosting.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, Richard, so Saturday we've got May 11th from 6 to 7:30. It's the Kern County Economic Summit. It's going to be on Channel 17, also streamed on KGET.com. You've got some fantastic sponsors. We'll get into those. in a
City of
second.
Tehachapi is one of them.
They are.
And are you going to put the link on our social media?
We absolutely will.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But I want to go back to one of your panels, and you talked about aerospace. What do you anticipate some of that conversation may be?
Well, since we already recorded it, I can tell you exactly, since I was
All right.
a moderator.
There you go.
I was going to pretend like it was live.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
They're not putting Richard on live TV. There's no chance. No chance.
I anticipated
The liability
very
is
stimulating.
way too high.
And we have Stratolaunch is representing the Mojave Air and Spaceport,
Nice.
which we all know is building the world's largest airplane.
We've had them on the podcast.
Yes, we have.
They're an amazing community partner, very engaged with the expo. They came down the hill with the East Kern Economic Alliance. And so they will also, Colonel Brown, if you've ever seen him speak, really phenomenal with Edwards Air Force Base. The
412.
Yep. 412. Maintenance.
Or 411? 412?
It's 12th. I think it's 4/12.
We can edit that if we need to.
We're doing our best.
Okay. We're very sorry. We love Edwards Air Force Base.
Yes.
12 sounds right to
What
me.
they do is just amazing.
Well, and then we have Harlan Koima, who is with China Lake Air and Weapons Division. And, 50 of the world's first came out of China Lake. Everything from the glow stick to the precursor for the GPS and airbag. And apparently the first computer search, 40-something years before Google. Wow. So... But, that's on the base, so most of us don't see that. It probably takes, many months to get access.
Yeah.
But, phenomenal rebuild there with the earthquake, many years, 2019?
Yeah.
And so the modernization there, the, highest per capita PhDs, I believe, anywhere in the country. So we really wanted to have those folks, that industry represented.
Talk about full circle. You've got China Lake that invented the glow stick, and you've got lightning in a bottle on Memorial Day, where there's glow sticks everywhere.
All connected. It's like we're
Kern
in this
County's coming
computer
home with a glow stick.
simulation.
That's full circle moment.
That they were the ones. Yes. So that lightning in a bottle. The amazing thing about what's happening at Kern, and we're getting these at tourism destinations. You all have the AVA for wine. People from around the country are coming here. Then we have the Hard Rock, which will be in 18 months. Probably 95% of the folks coming are from out of the county. 99% of people coming from Lightning a Bottle don't live in Kern. and you understand the importance of new money in economic development, right?
Yeah.
You're tracking people coming from Vegas, stopping in Tehachapi.
Vegas and Fresno is a major stopping point for us right here. Fresno to Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas back.
We're still trying to convince In-N-Out Burger that this is the place to be.
We're getting there.
Right. I mean, if you're going from Fresno to Vegas, you stop at the top of the hill, you get a double, animal style, you fill up with gas, and then next stop, Vegas, right?
But you have the best barbecue.
I mean, it makes sense. That too.
Yes, we have that.
Yeah, we have a lot of really, really creative, intelligent, dedicated people that live in and around the city of Tehachapi.
And it's good to be able to understand those patterns, understand the lifestyle, the segment of the population, the demographics, and then we tailor the economic development efforts to the groups that are here or potentially can be here as well. We have the ability to kind of see what the
Tehachapi
potential
Loop,
market
that's
looks
one
like.
of the wonders of the world, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I mean, that's the thing, that the new money, tourism, and our region, I think it's what, 1.2 billion plus a year in Kern County. And then those folks go back telling stories about the great time they had in Tehachapi or Kern County.
And you want them to tell a good story, right? I remember when we rebuilt the depot, one of the biggest concerns and goals we had was we want to build the depot so that not only locals, but anybody that visits really has a good time, and they tell their friends and family, you need to go. Because we've all been to museums that are dry and dusty and like, don't bother, right? You take that and you expand it into the entire city and the community, right? Every restaurant, your homes, your workplace, whatever, you want to be proud of your community. I think inherently everybody wants to be proud. And if they pitch in, then you can all collectively raise that bar.
Well, that's the main thing is that feeling of belonging and of all ages,
and it spans across all the XYZ generations. Just whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be proud and feel good about their self and their community.
Well, and that's why you all do a fantastic job telling this story.
Well, that's because we have good guests, Key.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's all about hearing from you directly. And I think that's one of the reasons with the podcast has been successful, because in news you get 10, 15-second sound bites and they build stories.
And it's usually, boring.
Yeah.
Fire.
There's a firestorm, watch, murder, whatever. I'm like, come on.
Well, and
There's more to life
bleeds and
than
leads.
all that crap.
and you have a reporter that's
Right?
interpreting your story and trying to resell it. Here we get a chance to take that deeper dive. We get to have an extended conversation about these topics. Yeah. I mean,
it's not scripted, and we sure as heck aren't prepared.
That's right.
Hey, add a stream of consciousness.
That's right.
And I think that's one of the things that people connect with, because we do have an open seat. And I always say when we have the open seat, that's our listener.
Yeah.
And we try to ask the questions that they might have as we're having this conversation. But I mean, you come in and you've got a fantastic knowledge of our economic situation in Kern County, but you tailor and really highlight East Kern. And East Kern has always been I always felt like kind of forgotten by a lot, but not by you. You recognize the value that Eastern Kern County has within our entire, economic portfolio in the county, and we continue to highlight it.
Well, I mean, when I first came here, that I was told, like, well, West Kern, great, but you got to pay more than lip service to East Kern. And then I looked at it like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Look at the innovation here.
And then you met us.
And so I created the East Kern Economic Alliance.
Right.
But the success is having you, Tehachapi, and other communities that are part of that. I'm a convener. But if we don't have some value, and now we have businesses that are coming.
That's right.
Not just folks like you and me, but now you have that was the key part of it, having the Strata Launch, AES, Pacific Steel, Rio Tinto, and others, because that's the third leg of the stool. If we don't have them there, so I really have just been really honored and privileged to help be part of telling this story.
We've had a lot of companies too in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, that are doing things. I mean, off the top of my head, Bowie Construction, Knight's Building Services, and Knight's just presented BBC a couple months ago. They're building stuff at Disneyland. They're building stuff for race teams all across the country, and their office is right over here on Tehachapi Boulevard because they decided, we're going to relocate. We're down in Santa Clarita, and it's just we want to change. They came up here, and they're building things all across the country, college campuses, bases, and they're doing it from their office here in Tehachapi. And Bowie Construction, the same kind of boat, doing that too. It's amazing what these folks do nationally, and then they're all just based right
And they're
here.
not looking for the spotlight or a lot of frills. They just, put their nose to the grindstone and get it done.
That's
what we do in East Kern. We get it done.
Yeah, we work hard. We have the work ethic, and sometimes we're too modest. Like bragging is just not in our character. So, but I'm like, I feel that's not bragging if we have fact sheets that tell us how we feed the world, power the world, and defend the world.
That's right.
We all that in Kern County.
Yep.
Now, Richard, not only do we have this televised event, the Economic Summit, you also have a couple of live events. We talked about the STEM Expo, but we also have the Energy Summit.
The Energy Summit, yes. We had a record number of sponsors, attendees, and I think in terms of content, in 17 years, we were very proud of that. It's October 24th. Again, a lot of East Kern stories will be told at that summit. So October the 24th. And we're already starting to put together the agenda.
Do you know what we should have on the agenda? Let me make a suggestion. What about the city of Tehachapi, and we can showcase the successes of our businesses, right?
Connected to energy?
Yeah. Just kind of, in a different way. Instead of just a specific company, just a portfolio of who we are and what we do.
Yeah. Well,
It might be kind of fun.
I walked into the Vestas building over there on Green Street the other day for something, and I was amazed at this command center they had set up, monitoring their projects all over the world. And there was probably 12, 15 employees in there. And on their monitors, they've got these charts and graphs and maps of all these projects, live, what the production's
and
going
and all this stuff. Energy output and profit levels.
Yeah,
or,
also
what's
another
up.
building by our airport.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of it's behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So how do we actually
A lot of things that happen at China Lake, Edwards, Mojave, easy examples, they don't really want people to know.
Right. They're not in the PR business.
Right.
They're not a startup that, like when I was in Seattle, all these startups were grappling. They wanted investment. They were out there, they were the next Microsoft or Google. Amazon was actually in a hospital selling books, and we're like, I don't get this.
You don't want to be in the spotlight if you're testing necessarily, and a lot of times it's
unless you're NASA, different.
Yeah, but their whole business model is very different. We learned that on a
They want to test it and then give it away.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah. They're for the American taxpayer, and hey, we want to develop technologies and just give it to you so that you can go and just multiply that.
I mean, hypersonic flight is being tested right over here.
We have Boom Supersonic. We
right.
have Universal Hydrogen, Stratolaunch. I mean, there are 100 companies there, and but they're not in the business of doing PR pieces and shiny op-eds.
But we talk about quality of life. When these professors or the scientists or technicians, engineers, they come to this area from all over the world. They need a place to live and call home, and they usually bring a spouse, maybe some kids, and Tehachapi can help fill that role. Right, we take that very serious. We've talked about that many, many times, because if you're coming here from Pennsylvania and it's green rolling hills and water everywhere, and you come to this area, it's different, and it could be hard for that family unit. And so we want to embrace that and help them cushion that and find a new home.
Well, very user friendly. And so what you all do is that, again, I know you have the farmers market, you have the festivals.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of Stars Hollow and the Gilmore Girls. My wife always wanted to live in Stars Hollow.
Key and Maya and I were talking. We have so many festivals this weekend, working with the chamber and so many others.
Yeah.
We just had a meeting this afternoon, and we have a catalog of everything that is going on in Tehachapi in this calendar year. 62 events. There's only 52 weeks in a year, but we have 62 different events that are in the city, not including the unincorporated area, but just that touch the city in one way or another. I was blown away by that number. but that's what we've tracked. You start pulling in all that data, and this group does that. The chamber has 4 events this year. We have 3 events that we're doing.
Something for everybody.
Yeah.
Honestly. And every year they get a little bigger and better. You know, we're the Christmas parade, Hometown Christmas, we're adding some additions to that, and it's going to be really fun. The Mountain Festival, always the king of the hill, if you will, and the Apple Festival, but on and on and on.
Right. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Well, I would love to have a retreat up at the winery. So the hardest decision is which winery.
Yeah.
Well, that's when you get, Discover Tehachapi to take you around.
Okay.
Why say which one?
Right.
Which one do you want to go to first?
That's why we love one of our episodes, Business Balance, on Jim Arnold and Triassic. Definitely miss his spirit and determination and just his love of Tehachapi and the region.
I think I learned like 90% of what I know about wine from listening to Jim Arnold tell me.
For sure.
Like, this is how I do it. This is how I grow. And now I impress my friends.
And then we have great places to eat, and we have great hotels, so you don't have to go home.
There it got.
Get up and do it the next day, and then we have some microbreweries downtown. Every time I go to West Lane Brewery, have a beer, somebody comes up to me that I have never met, asking me about something with the city.
Yeah,
and that's great. That interaction, I'm so happy to educate people and share what we're doing and who we are.
Yeah.
Well, if I didn't have a dog, I had to go back to Bakersfield today. I'd stay here, but my wife probably would divorce me. She's abroad right now.
Well, Richard, thank you for always including Tehachapi, East Kern in what you do and the conversations that you have, whether it's down in Bakersfield or other parts of the region that you're talking. And you always include us. I always hear about the importance of East Kern. So don't want to let that slide away.
We appreciate both KDC and KDF. Such an important part of our portfolio and how we promote the region.
Yeah, north, south, east, west, all of them matter.
Yeah, your program manager, Olivia Franson, she was fantastic. She came on and promoted the STEM Expo, and that was just, it was a great conversation that she and I had, and I'm glad that was really successful.
No, thank you for always having us on the show.
And I'm excited that you asked me to join your board, so that'll be fun.
There you go.
We'll whip things into shape,
I can't wait to speak at the Energy Summit, apparently.
Yeah, right. So thanks, I'm on the board, and Corey's going to speak, so, come back anytime.
And so let's just remind everyone the Kern County Economic Summit, May 11th, 6 to 7:30, KGET Channel 17, KGET.com. Some of the great sponsors, including Adventist Health, Kaiser Permanente, the County of Kern. We've got Chevron, but I'm going to focus in on the city of Tehachapi.
Yes, we love your logo too. Thank you for also sponsoring the expo.
And 3 of those businesses too. I mean, look at Valley Strong, Kaiser, and Adventist Health, all have a presence in our community too.
That's right.
Yep.
They're big sponsors.
They all have
and you probably have a Chevron gas
We have
station.
a couple Chevron.
We do have a couple of those. Yeah.
All footprints right here in Tehachapi.
Exactly.
Well, Richard, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. All right, folks, if you have a question based on today's conversation for any one of us or Richard, we'll get that to him. You can send it to media@TehachapiCityHall.com. And again, another great conversation. An hour has flown by. Wow. And I mean, shoot, you probably we just covered 60 of the 90 minutes of the Economic Summit right here.
I wish we could play this right before.
All right, folks, we'll catch you again soon, right here on Tehachapod.
Tehachapod is a conversation about Tehachapi, featuring the community members who make this such a special place to call home. If you have a question or a thought you'd like to share, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. Thank you to Gary Mazzola for sharing his song, This is Tehachapi.